Close your eyes for a second and imagine this: a quiet street, a chill in the air, pumpkins glowing on doorsteps, laughter echoing in the dark. It's Halloween night. But here's the twist. What if I told you that this night of costumes, candles, and candy looks completely different depending on where you are in the world?
That's right. For some, it's all about trick-or-treating and scary movies. For others, it's about honoring ancestors, lighting candles in cemeteries, or celebrating with food and music. It's one of those fascinating cultural days that shows how every country takes one idea, life, death, memory, and makes it their own.
Exactly. Today, we're exploring Halloween traditions around the world. And while we'll talk about the spooky and the fun, we'll also dive into the meaning behind it all: why people dress as ghosts, why they light lanterns, and how ancient rituals became modern parties.
And of course, we'll keep your English growing along the way. You'll hear words like haunted, disguise, superstition, and spirit, all explained naturally in our stories. So by the end, not only will you know more about Halloween, you'll also sound more fluent talking about it.
Let's start where it all began: ancient Ireland. Picture this: 2,000 years ago, long before kids ran around in costumes, the Celts celebrated a festival called Samhain, spelled Samhain, but pronounced so-in.
Samhain marked the end of summer and the start of the dark half of the year. People believed that on that night, the line between the living and the dead became thin. Spirits could cross over. To protect themselves, they lit huge bonfires and wore disguises, costumes to confuse any wandering ghosts.
Which is wild, because that's where our modern Halloween costumes come from. It wasn't just for fun, it was survival, or at least spiritual protection.
Right. And instead of knocking on doors for candy, villagers left food outside their homes to keep the spirits happy. Imagine setting out a plate of bread or fruit for invisible guests.
So, when you see a child dressed as a witch holding a candy bucket today, that's a little piece of history walking down the street.
It's amazing how those old superstitions evolved into celebrations. From bonfires to jack-o'-lanterns, from fear to fun, it's all connected.
But Ireland isn't the only place with a festival like this. Around the world, people celebrate the same idea: remembering the dead, but in completely different ways.
Let's travel to Mexico next, because Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, is one of the most colorful and meaningful traditions anywhere.
And also one of the most misunderstood. It's not Mexico's Halloween, it's something much deeper.
So, the Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos, it takes place on November 1st and 2nd, just after Halloween. And while the timing is close, the feeling is totally different. Instead of focusing on fear, it celebrates love, memory, and connection.
Exactly. It's about welcoming the spirits of loved ones back home for a short visit. Families decorate altars, called ofrendas, with photos, flowers, candles, and the favorite foods of the people who have passed away. The idea is simple but beautiful. Death doesn't separate us completely. There's still a bridge between worlds.
And if you've ever seen those bright orange flowers, marigolds, they're everywhere during the celebration. People believe their color and scent help guide the spirits home. It's poetic, right? Flowers lighting the path from the afterlife.
It really is. And those sugar skulls you've probably seen, they're not meant to be scary. They're sweet, literally. They represent life, individuality, and remembrance. Some even have names written on the forehead, sometimes of loved ones, sometimes of the living, as a reminder that life is temporary and precious.
There's this interesting vocabulary shift, too. In English, we often use words like ghost, haunted, or scary around Halloween. But in Mexico, the language of the Day of the Dead is full of warmth. Familia, amor, Recuerdo, family, love, memory. It's less about fright and more about gratitude.
You know what's fascinating? The way people use humor, too. Skeletons are drawn dancing, laughing, even eating tacos. It's like they're saying, death is part of life, so let's dance with it.
That's such a powerful cultural message. In some places, we avoid talking about death, but here they face it with color and laughter. It's not about mourning, it's about celebrating what was and what still connects us.
It makes me think that Halloween and the Day of the Dead are like two sides of the same coin. One looks at the mystery and fear of death, the other looks at its love and memory.
And both, in their own way, bring people together. Whether it's lighting candles in silence or wearing costumes and knocking on doors, it's all about connection between the past and the present, between people and their stories.
Speaking of stories, not every country celebrates with skeletons and pumpkins. Some have their own hauntingly beautiful traditions. Let's jump to Asia, where the idea of honoring spirits takes a very different form.
Oh, I know where you're going with this. The Ghost Festival in China, right?
Exactly. It's like an ancient cousin of Halloween, but the meaning behind it is deeply spiritual. The Ghost Festival, also known as Zhongyuanjie in China, happens on the 15th day of the 7th month of the lunar calendar. People believe that during that time, the gates of the spirit world open and ghosts can visit the living.
Which sounds a lot like the Celtic idea of the veil between worlds becoming thin. Different continent, same belief. Spirits walking among us for one special night.
Exactly. But the tone is different again. Instead of dressing up or knocking on doors, families prepare offerings, food, incense, and even paper money to comfort wandering spirits and show respect to their ancestors.
And the paper money is fascinating. People burn it, believing it reaches their loved ones in the afterlife as a gift. It's symbolic generosity, giving something that can't be held but can still be felt.
In some places, you'll even see little paper houses, cars, or clothes being burned. It's like sending care packages to the other side.
That's such a moving image. There's this mix of fear and care. People don't want to anger restless spirits, but they also want to show love and honor.
It's a pattern, isn't it? Whether it's bonfires in Ireland, marigolds in Mexico, or incense in China, the idea is always the same: to balance fear with respect.
Japan has a similar tradition too, called Obon. It's one of the most beautiful festivals I've ever read about. Families light paper lanterns and float them on rivers or the sea, guiding spirits back to the afterlife after their visit.
Mia. Yes, and the atmosphere is calm, almost sacred. During Obon, people clean their homes, visit graves, and sometimes even perform a special dance called Bon Odori. It's not about frightening ghosts, it's about welcoming them home for a while.
The language of that festival says so much about the culture too. The Japanese word obon comes from the Buddhist term ulambana, which means to save those who are suffering. There's compassion at the heart of it.
And that's something Halloween often forgets, right? Beneath all the costumes and candy, there's this ancient thread connecting us to the people who came before.
Yeah. Whether you call them spirits, ancestors, or souls, every culture finds a way to say, you're still part of us.
But not all traditions are peaceful or gentle. Some are thrilling, loud, and full of energy, like the way people celebrate in the Philippines or in parts of Europe.
Oh, I know what you mean. The Philippines' Pangangalulua and Austria's Krampusnacht. Two completely different vibes, but both unforgettable.
Let's travel there next, where Halloween meets music, masks, and monsters. Let's start in the Philippines. where a tradition called Pangangalulua used to take place on All Saints' Eve. Imagine this: groups of people going door to door at night, not asking for candy, but singing songs for the souls of the dead.
Almost like carolers, but for the afterlife. I love that image. They'd sing to remind people to pray for their departed loved ones, and in return, they might get food or treats.
Yes, it's both solemn and social. Over time, it became more playful, especially in small towns. Some people even wore masks or costumes. So it started to look a little like Western Halloween, but the heart of it remained about prayer and remembrance.
There's something really special about that combination: music, faith, and community. It's not about fear, it's about keeping the memory of the dead alive through shared tradition.
And speaking of keeping things alive, let's switch to Europe, where some Halloween traditions get a little wilder.
You must be thinking of Austria's Krampusnacht. Now, this one's not technically on Halloween, it's in early December, but the spirit is just as spooky.
Right? In Austria and parts of Germany, people celebrate Krampusnacht or Krampus Night when a creature called Krampus, half goat, half demon, roams the streets.
He's the dark opposite of St. Nicholas. Instead of bringing gifts, Krampus is said to punish naughty children. And the best part? People actually dress up as him: fur, horns, rattling chains, and parade through towns.
Imagine that. Streets full of roaring costume monsters. It's half terrifying, half hilarious. But it's also deeply cultural. It reminds kids of good behavior, but also connects adults to ancient folklore about darkness and light.
And there's a word that fits perfectly here: catharsis. It means emotional release. These traditions let people express fear in a safe, joyful way. You can scream, laugh, and then go home smiling.
That's what makes Halloween in any form so fascinating. It gives people permission to face what they usually avoid: death, fear, darkness, and somehow turn it into celebration.
Exactly. Whether it's Krampus scaring villagers or Filipino singers honoring the dead, every country is saying the same thing. The unknown doesn't have to be silent or lonely.
And when you think about it, even modern Halloween, with all its parties and pumpkins, still does that. We take something ancient, something mysterious, and we fill it with laughter and light.
I love that idea. Fear transformed into fun, and remembrance turned into joy.
But there's one more stop we can't skip: America, where Halloween became the global pop culture phenomenon we know today.
Let's talk about that next: how trick or treating, horror movies, and pumpkin carving turned an ancient ritual into a modern festival. So let's cross the Atlantic to the United States, the place that turned Halloween into a global event. If you think about it, almost every country now recognizes the images born there: pumpkins, candy, costumes, and kids running through the night shouting, "Trick or treat!"
But it didn't start that way. In the 1800s, Irish and Scottish immigrants brought their Samhain and All Hallows Eve customs to America. Over time, those old traditions mixed with local ideas, like neighborhood parties, community games, and later, commercial creativity.
Exactly. The phrase trick or treat appeared in the 1920s, but it wasn't really about tricks. It was a friendly exchange. You give candy, you avoid mischief. It turned fear into friendliness.
And the pumpkin carving we know so well? That actually came from an older Irish legend about a man named Stingy Jack. He tricked the devil and, as punishment, was doomed to wander the earth with only a burning coal inside a hollowed out turnip.
When Irish settlers arrived in America, they found pumpkins: bigger, softer, easier to carve, and the jack o' lantern was born. So that glowing face on your doorstep, It's centuries of storytelling condensed into one warm, flickering smile.
And that's what I love about Halloween in the US. It's not just spooky, it's playful, communal, and endlessly creative. You get the wild decorations, the horror movies, the pop culture costumes, but underneath it, there's this shared excitement, this chance for everyone to become someone else for a night.
Yeah, it's a mix of imagination and identity. A shy kid becomes a superhero, an adult becomes a ghost, a neighbor becomes a friend. It's one of those rare holidays that breaks down social walls.
I think that's why it spreads so easily around the world. You don't have to share the same beliefs to enjoy it. It's flexible, it adapts. In Japan, people hold Halloween parades with anime costumes. In France, kids go door to door, but with more gothic style. In Australia, it's still new, but growing fast.
And everywhere it goes, it takes on local color. The costumes change, the food changes, but the feeling stays the same. A night to play with fear, to laugh at it, to come together.
You know, there's something very human about that. No matter where we're from, we all need ways to make sense of the dark, to turn what scares us into something we can celebrate.
And that's what all these traditions show us. From Samhain to Dia de los Muertos, from Oban to Halloween night, it's all one long conversation between the living and the dead, spoken in 100 different accents.
Beautifully said. But I don't think we're done yet. Before we wrap up, I want to explore how these celebrations reveal something about language too, how the words we use for fear, death, and remembrance shape the way we feel about them.
Oh, that's a deep one. From haunted to honored, language can change everything.
Exactly. Let's dive into that next. How vocabulary reflects culture, and why English words like ghost, spirit, and soul carry so much hidden meaning. Let's talk about the words themselves, because the language of Halloween tells us a lot about how people think and feel about life and death. In English, we use words like ghost, spirit, soul, haunted, creepy. They sound cold, mysterious, even a little frightening.
True, and each of those words carries its own emotional shade. Ghost sounds pale and distant, something from a story. Spirit feels lighter, like energy that lingers. Soul goes deeper. It connects to faith, identity, even love.
And haunted, that one fascinates me. It literally means visited by ghosts, but we use it for emotions too. We say, she's haunted by the past, meaning a memory won't leave her alone. It's a perfect example of how language mixes the physical and emotional worlds.
Exactly. And if you look across cultures, you see similar patterns. In Spanish, the word espiritu covers both spirit and ghost. In Japanese, yuri means a ghost, but it's tied to feelings of sadness or unfinished business. The emotion lives inside the word.
That's why I love exploring language through culture. It's never just vocabulary. Each word carries centuries of belief, fear, and hope. When we say spooky, we're not just describing something dark. We're playing with the thrill of fear in a safe way.
That's so true. Even the word Halloween itself is a linguistic time capsule. It comes from All Hallows Eve, the night before All Hallows Day, also known as All Saints' Day. Over time, Hallows Eve became Halloween, then Halloween.
Language evolves just like traditions do. And it's fascinating how modern English keeps inventing playful phrases for the season: spooky season, trick or treating, pumpkin patch, haunted house. They make fear sound fun, almost cozy.
I love that paradox. How we can take something ancient and unsettling and turn it into something that brings people joy. It shows how language adapts to our emotional needs.
It's almost like every word is a little lantern, lighting the dark just enough for us to see.
Beautiful metaphor, and it fits perfectly with what we've been saying all episode. Every culture, every language, every word finds its own way to balance the dark with light.
So when we say Happy Halloween, it's not just a cheerful phrase, it's also a whisper to history, to ancestors, to mystery. It's us saying, we see the darkness, but we're not afraid.
That's powerful, and maybe that's the real meaning behind all these celebrations, not running from fear, but dancing with it.
Exactly. And maybe learning to do that in life, in language, is what keeps us human.
Couldn't agree more. But before we close, I think we owe our listeners one more thing: a little reflection on what all of this means today in a world that's both more connected and more divided than ever.
Yes, let's bring it home. What Halloween traditions around the world can teach us about empathy, connection, and the universal language of remembrance. You know, after exploring all these traditions, from Ireland's bonfires to Japan's lanterns, from Mexico's marigolds to America's candy buckets, it's hard not to see a pattern. Every one of them is, in its own way, about remembering, about connection, about finding light in the dark.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes Halloween and its global cousins so special. On the surface, it's about ghosts and costumes and pumpkins. But underneath, it's about humanity's oldest question: what happens when someone we love is gone?
Exactly. And instead of turning away from that question, people found creative ways to face it. They built fires, told stories, lit candles, sang songs. Every culture found its own way to say, we remember you. You still matter.
And I think there's a lesson in that for all of us today. You don't need a festival to honor memory. You can do it anytime by telling a story about someone you miss, by lighting a candle, or even by carrying a tradition forward in your own way.
There's this quiet comfort in knowing that all over the world, on the same nights, millions of people are doing something similar, remembering, reflecting, celebrating. Different languages, different customs, but the same heartbeat.
Yeah, it's like a global rhythm that keeps going every October and November. Even when we think we're alone, we're part of that rhythm too.
And maybe that's what these traditions teach us, not just about death, but about life, about how short it is, how precious, and how it connects us across centuries.
That's the real magic, isn't it? Halloween isn't only about being scared, it's about feeling alive.
So, wherever you are, whether you're carving a pumpkin, lighting incense, or visiting a grave with flowers, take a moment, remember someone. Feel that quiet link between then and now.
And maybe whisper Happy Halloween, not just to your friends, but to the ones who came before you.
Beautifully said, Tom.
Thanks, Mia. And thank you to everyone listening for joining us on this little trip around the world.
We hope this episode helped you see Halloween in a new light and maybe taught you a few new words along the way.
If it did, share it with someone who loves a good story. And wherever you are, stay curious, stay kind, and stay brave, even when the nights get a little darker.
This was Easylish, where English meets the real world, one conversation at a time.
Until next time.
Happy Halloween!